Hi, welcome back to the show. I know it's been a while in between episodes, but we are back for you, and that is what matters most. Now, today is episode 49 of the podcast, and then it's going to be episode 50. I already know who is coming on next, and I promise it's going to be a good one. Now, just a couple of updates. As of this recording, we have about 8 more days to go before the Philippine Book Fair at the Mega Trade Halls 1 to 3 at SM Mega Mall, of course. And that's going to be 4 days starting from March 13 to 16. Now, I personally will be there at the collective area, booth number CSO2, and I'm going to be there to launch this. Yay! And this is going to be, or this is my new book that's entitled Rhythm and Rhyme. This is a short collection of poems and lyrics, as well as lyrics from my album, which is called Love Has Found Me. There you go. Now, the book has a QR code of which you can scan the songs and listen to it as you read the lyrics, or if you choose, you can also sing to it as well. Okay, there's the QR code. All right, now, second update, my short story that's entitled My Name Is has been selected and chosen to be part of the new Philippine speculative fiction anthology, that is, and edited by the father of speculative fiction here in the Philippines, Mr. Dean Francis Alfar. That it's also going to be launched on Philippine Book Festival on the same week. So two new things I've got going and two new things to look forward to next week when you go to the book festival. Okay, you can pre-register for free, so that will help you at least beat the long lines. Now, the link is going to be there on my Facebook page. Look for CJ Edmunds on Facebook. And I'm also trying to post it here on the show notes so that you get to see it. Okay? Now, I hope to see everybody there, and I will be more than happy to sign your copy of the books for you. And I will see you next week. And here is the episode.
Welcome to Urban Fantasy PH. We are creatives who live in an urban society and give readers wish fulfillment by way of our stories, which is fantasy but reflective of reality. Here, we get to talk to fellow creatives like writers, authors, artists, comic book creators, filmmakers, you name it. We create and share our art here in the Philippines as well as abroad. My name is CJ Edmunds, I'm your host, and here is today's episode.
All right. Good morning, fellow bookworms, book lovers, book hoarders. Yes, marami kami, and creatives. Wishing you all a bright and happy Wednesday. Now, we've got another episode of the podcast for you this morning, and it feels great to be back to bring you all another engaging episode. And like always, and during an ongoing season, our show is aired every Wednesday, both for Spotify as well as on my YouTube channel. And you have the option to listen or to watch us, the choice I leave in your hands. And whether you're listening or watching, all you got to do in order to get updated always and not miss a single episode, just click the subscribe button and ring the bell. That's all there is to it. Okay. All of our past episodes are at the ready for you to return to or listen to chronologically if in case you are joining us for the first time. Now, our guest for today is somebody who calls herself a visual storyteller. Okay. Now, she likes to imbue her work with a touch of the three W's, which I think every creative out there should pay attention to. I know that I am. And these are whimsy, wonder, and warmth. Okay. If we can ask her about that in detail when she joins us. And she holds a degree in creative writing from UP Diliman and has always had a passion for the visual arts, particularly comics. Okay. Now, she strongly advocates for more comics in the Filipino mainstream media, here, particularly children's lit. And aside from comics, she likes books, sweets, and pedestrian lanes. Something I need to go back and ask her as well, because I, too, have issues with regards to pedestrian lanes. And I'm glad that she is here with us today. Hello and good morning to Miss Hansel Dimapilis. Hello, hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Hansel, and welcome to Urban Fantasy PH. And so glad that you are able to join us today and that you're free, your schedule permits you. The last time we were supposed to do this was when I remember you were not feeling good at the time. I hope you are well rested now and you're feeling much, much better.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
I got sick like last January, and it took me a while to like recover. But now I'm back, just
You're
getting back.
good to go and ready for summer.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I think it's just it was it just me, or like, or was in the area like it was cloudy for a while, it suddenly became really hot. So
Yeah, yeah. It's usually like that. I seem that I seem to feel that December now is not December, but it's January for us. And then when Chinese New Year rolls in, and that varies from the end of January to the first week of February, and then it starts getting warm again. But that's global warming, and that's Chinese astrology for you. But we're not here to talk about global warming or Chinese astrology. But we met first during last year's MIBF, or Manila International Book Fair, as our booths were across one
yes,
another.
yes, yes.
Yeah, I know that we will have another one coming this September. I was wondering, can you tell us how last year's MIBF was for you, and was it your first time to join MIBF or any book
Yes.
fair for that matter?
It's not my first time to join a book fair, but it
Okay.
was my first time to join MIBF. So it's a very different feel, I think, because the first one I joined as an exhibitor was Philippine uh, Philippine Book Fair, Philippine International Book Fair. I'm not.
Yeah, yeah, PBF, which is something
Oh
that
yeah.
we have upcoming this coming March as
Oh
well.
yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, this coming
Sorry,
March 13 to
I tend
16.
to like mix their names. So yeah, it's PBF Philippine. So that one is like all Filipino publishers and works. It's
Yes,
a
that's the
very
one.
different vibe compared to MIBF, which is just like filled with like a lot of books. So it was
Exactly.
a different scene, yeah. And it's also
Mhm.
very different when you're an exhibitor. So you have like a very different perspective, like view of things. Like it was my first time to see like MIBF close, or you have to like go to the back entrance and such. So yeah, it was like
Yeah,
a very different experience for me.
different venue and different set of rules. Everything is much bigger. Everything is either in your face, or everything is a little bit farther from where you're used to. And yes, there's a little bit of um, different mindset when you become an exhibitor, because you have to take care of not just, of course, your sales, but you also have to take care about how you pitch your work to people who are browsing, and how you translate that pitch into an actual sale, and also making sure that your stuff, your merchandise, as well as your personal belongings are intact by the end of the day and for the duration of the fair. We hear some horror stories about people's
Oh,
valuables getting lost during the fair, or any fair for that matter. So you also have to do your due diligence with regards to your own merchandise. And every fair and every book event is different, no matter the scale, and each fair will teach us something. I was wondering, what do you think you learned from MIBF last year that you are now aware of moving forward? Should you join again this year, or for any other upcoming book events?
oh, like lessons learned?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Because, mm,
It could be a lesson learned, or it could also be a reminder that although you may have been doing in the past, but because you joined MIBF, you just kind of remembered, yeah, I need to spruce up on this, or I need to refine this process that I'm so used to, and and tailor fit it as I go along for every book fair that I join.
for me, it was more of a reaffirmation of like what I've thought before. Is that
Hmm.
the Philippines does have readers. There are
Yes.
people who are interested in comics and would love to support comics.
Hmm.
It's just that it would take a bit more effort to reach them, find them. And I think
Hmm.
that spaces like, Manila International Book Fair, conventions, and all of these efforts, I think that they really do help sort of like help us reach our readers like in a way that's, very effective,
Hmm.
effective and also sort of efficient because it's kind of like a big event where people can all join and people can also kind of like see all different types of stories. So yeah, for me it was more of a reaffirmation.
Reaffirmation. Okay, I like that. But along with that sort of reaffirmation, would there be also like a realization? I mean, I like it when I hear people say that this is what they realize, that there are readers out there, that people are looking for new material to read. But let's say that's for the generation who are readers. But how about for the people who are not? Let's say maybe like for the older generation, who feel like, oh, so what are you doing? comics. What are you writing? Comics. What are you illustrating? Comics. But that's for kids. Do you still get that bias whenever and when you do hear that, how do you address it?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there definitely were some I wouldn't say like older folk. I think there's just like they're like spread across. I think for younger readers, they're more aware of it because they have most likely been introduced to manga,
Right.
like those types of comics. But for the older gen, what I've noticed that they do become surprised that, oh wait, there's still comics. Then they kind of like get reminded of what it was like when they were younger, and there were more comics when comics was more like visible mainstream. So I think that was something like I have to laugh about. Like, yes, we still exist. There are still
There are
comic
still
creators.
creators.
People are
Yeah.
still like passionately making them. But I think that you made like a very like excellent point. The idea that this mindset that, oh, comics, and aren't they like primarily for children? Because from my
Because comics are
experience,
more visceral now.
I feel like from what I've experienced
in,
that
in
comics,
showing what you're not supposed to be showing. They
yeah,
almost
no,
show
it's like
everything.
I find it so funny that for a lot of people they think that comics is for children. But actually when you look at the comics that people do make, at least in conventions, the ones that I've seen, they're
Yeah.
actually like more targeted toward adults or at
Yeah.
least like new adults, right?
Uh-huh,
So it's
uh-huh,
like
uh-huh.
there's definitely like a disjoint. So and actually is like one of the primary motivators behind my reasoning of like making more comics in children's literature because I don't know, I find it so weird that people think that comics is for children, but there's not
Mhm.
actually a lot of comics for children. So there's
Yeah.
definitely a want there, some like a
Mhm.
sort of like gap, and it would be nice to fill that up with like more comics. Yeah.
Nice, nice. I like that. I like that. It's like a mission vision statement for you and for what you love to do. And you know what? Sometimes we keep doing things, one after the other. We churn out, we produce, and we market. And we creatives seem to forget that we at times feel that this can also be maybe from pressure from either our peers or maybe our editors breathing down our backs, or it can also be a pressure that's self-imposed. But the importance of it is, of course, having a balance. That's key. So I was wondering, how important is it for you as a creative to establish that balance, like the balance between, let's say, work and creativity, and maybe down to creating boundaries during the times that we need to create and devote a specific amount of time for our art?
That's actually like a very good question because it's something that I'm also currently struggling now. For
Hmm.
context, I work freelance, so I just take
Okay.
on like a variety of subjects at a time, and I primarily work as an illustrator. So there comes a time when I'm just drawing all day, like for example, drawing book covers, drawing
Hmm.
commission, and at one point when you're drawing so much throughout the day, you kind of like want to like rest
Hmm.
once like
Hmm.
your work day is over, and that's kind of like and then you kind of realize, oh shucks, wait, I have this other project I have to work at, a project that I'm actually like super passionate about. It's your it's your creative baby. And then realizing, oh wait, I think I've lost like juice for the day, like my creative juices is just, oh wait, I need to rest. And and I did ask around, like asking my friends, hey, like how do you deal with this? And one of the
Hmm.
recommendations is that you set aside a time which
Okay.
you've dedicated to that work. So for example, okay, say throughout the day, that's like your job. Okay, it's going to be your work. But for example, in the evening you can, like for example, from 9 to 11 p.m. once like your work day is over, you've done everything, you just rest for a bit. That time is something that you can dedicate to yourself so that you have a time to recharge, you have a time to like tap into your more personal stories, some
Hmm.
of your passion projects. So I think that's what I would recommend. For I mean, I'm currently trying it out. I've yet I can't like vouch yet for the results, but I do hope it works so that I can actually like work on my personal projects. Yes.
Right. Well, I guess that the good thing about that is that you're also aware that you need also to take some breaks. As a creative, we sometimes do not give ourselves permission to take breaks. Guilty. And then when we do take our breaks, even if it's well deserved, there's still that voice at the back of our head saying, "You're not supposed to be watching Netflix. You're not supposed to be binging on Prime, or you're not supposed to." Right? When do you know that chapter that you just left on your laptop? It needs to be finished. You have no business watching or binging. So sometimes we need to just shut that voice off and say, "Hey, I've done my work for the day, and I cannot be made to feel guilty about it." And sometimes we do that, not just other people. We ourselves make ourselves guilty. But it all boils down to, I don't know, a mindset issue, don't you think?
Mhm. I think it's important that as creatives, we don't forget that we need to also recharge as well. As much
Mhm.
as we would like to think that we have like an unlimited fuel of creative passion or like
Creative
source of joy,
mana.
right? We do need to recharge once in a while. We do need to like allot time to like for enjoyment, to like look at things, get inspired by the works of other people. So that's always like a good thing. Again, it's a good reminder. I may not always follow it. Sometimes, again, I do succumb to that idea of, wait, I need to be like working on my comics right now. Oh, wait, I need to be working or like on this project and so on and so forth. So it's always like a good reminder to like, oh wait, I need I need to like back, like rest and
Right.
actually a lot time to like consume other art as well.
Exactly. Because when you do consume, that's the time that you take in whatever it is that what you see, what you hear, what you read, and then that comes out, into your work. So it's basically just really giving into that cycle. And if you sort of like forget that the whole creative process in a way is a cycle, then either you're doing it wrong, or the first few moments that you produce something, it's automatic burnout for you, and you wouldn't know how to sort of like recharge yourself, right?
Yes, yes.
But yeah, but whether it's a mindset or productivity issue, every goal for sure starts with a dream. And as Rennie, did you always want to be a visual creative, and how supportive was family with regards to the dream? Sorry, I had to ask
Um,
that.
in terms of like how I got started, I think for me, because I entered college on a writing degree because I
Hmm.
loved writing short stories back in high school. So that's kind of like the main idea that I had. And but I've always loved drawing. When I got into college, it was only there that I realized that there was actually an art school.
Hmm. Oh, okay.
I didn't know that they had like a college of fine arts. So I tried to shift, and I didn't pass. So yeah. So I felt there was like a part of me that was wondering, oh shucks, should I still pursue arts? Because I failed to shift into that college.
Uh-huh.
But then I realized, you know what, I can always try, and my mindset kind of like shifted from, oh wait, I need to like join this course in order to like learn art, to more of like, oh wait, I'll just all of my extracurricular activities, I'll just make it focus on art, so that
Hmm.
me perhaps I can like learn from other people who do actually study it. Just like learn from them, more of like an on hand experience. And then from joining those orgs, there's like one specifically. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. Ugat, UP
Hmm.
Mulat.
Okay.
They're a Filipino writing org. I joined because back then I wasn't very good in writing in Filipino. So I wanted to join and like learn from them. And it was from there that I learned about making zines. So I got
Oh,
introduced to zines first. So like
okay.
people just printing their own short stories and such. And from there, I kind of learned about comics. So the first time I got introduced to comics was because um Adarna was doing this like pop up in her college. They had like a stand, and then they were selling their books there. And that's where I kind of like saw all of these comics that they were releasing. I think the first one I saw was Light by Rob Chum. And then I kind of like really got interested in those, and then from there I learned about book fairs. I think the very first one that sort of really inspired me was call this one. mythology class by Arnold Are.
Oh yes.
Book signing in Manila International Book Fair, and
Yes.
I got hooked in the story, like, because I didn't know that there were actually like local comics back then. So it was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
really
yeah.
happening for me to like to see a creator and he has this book and it's awesome. And then I think it was
And
only
it's thick.
and then I think it was also during that time I got introduced to Emiliana Campilan's Dead Balagtas. So another awesome one. So there, during that time, I just got it, and then from there, I just started seeking out comics, like
Hmm.
more of them, and then also started joining events because, wow, they're so awesome. I want to try it too. Yeah. So there's definitely like that sort of thing. Yeah, because I think it was in I think the first one is MIBF. I saw Sir
Hmm.
Ar- and then I learned that he had like a book signing in Comic-Con. So I went to Comic-Con to like get his books. So I could
Nice.
like, compete. I was very happy. And then I think it was there that I saw like a lot of the exhibitors in Comic-Con were like people my age. So I thought, you know what, I want to join as well. I want to make my own comics as well. Thankfully my family has been supportive so far with me like pursuing this career.
Hmm.
I am trying my best, and I do think that there's like a lot of potential for it, but I'm not sure yet if it's something um I can just sustain by itself. So I do definitely take on a lot of projects, not just on comics. So there's definitely that. So there's like a balance across like the illustration field in terms of comics.
Great. Good, good. I heard that you said you started out with zines. Would you still have that very first zine that you made?
Oh,
Is it still somewhere there?
wait, like look for it. I'm not sure exactly where it is.
There it is. But you still have it. In short, you still keep a
Yes.
copy.
Yes.
Good, good, good. It's always nice to, to look back and from hearing your journey from from the awareness from being a reader to an active creative. I guess the light bulb moment for you was seeing that pop up by Adarna and seeing all other books that really appealed to you visually,
Mm-hmm.
and that probably was like that switch that got turned on in your head. It's like, I think I can do this for a living, or I would love to try at the very least
Yes.
to do this for a living.
I think at the very least, there's definitely like an element of, you know what, I'll just jump into this. I want to try it, so I'll try it. There's
Hmm.
definitely like
Hmm.
an element of that. And I think that when it comes to like pursuing comics, you do kind of have to have that like mindset of, you know what, I'm just going to try. I'm going to
Yeah,
put this out there. I'm going to see where it goes. So there's definitely an element of that.
yeah. There's also an element of trust as well. That this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm trusting the process,
Mm-mm.
and I will not. How I will try not to predict the outcome because we really can't, and just go with the flow. And I was wondering, since the medium of comics is the one that sort of like captured you, what is it? Do you think is it about that medium that appeals to you that probably other mediums don't at that same level?
Mm. For me, like one of the things that kind of really struck me, I mean, aside from the pretty pictures, right, and so forth, is this idea of like imbuing multiple layers of meaning
Hmm.
using both text and um, image, right? So I
Right.
really like how people imbue different like sort of meaning. For example, like the caption or a dialogue could be saying one thing and then the image could be saying another. But when
Yeah.
you put them together, they could also be saying another thing. I really like that sort of like relationship, that interaction, sort of like chemistry that goes on between image and text. And even if there's like no text, right? Sometimes just by visual storytelling.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's definitely something that I'm really interested in.
Hmm.
And it's not just like from like it's not a typical, for example, because when it comes, for example, animation and so forth, right? It's usually just one frame to the next, so you
Yeah.
just see. So there's sort of like a time kind of thing wherein you follow the sequences of the frame sequentially. But
Right. It's linear.
it's very linear. But when it comes to comics, there's like a lot of freedom because you can actually squish time. Like you can show multiple things at once in a single page.
Hmm. Hmm.
So like in this idea of like linear, it's not necessarily quite. I mean, of course, there's like the flipping of pages, the scrolling, right? There's that sort of thing, but you can compress so much like time in just like a single page. Again, that's something that I'm really interested in.
Hmm.
That sort of like interplay, and then just the very wide range of like possibilities that you can do with a medium. So yeah, that's something that I really appreciate with it.
Right. And different people would sort of like panel it differently, based on, I guess, the story that they want to tell. And if you want to have a mic drop moment, you can just, have a whole 2-page spread, and that will be a very widescreen mic drop moment for the reader, depending on the kind of story that you were trying to tell. So it looks like, from the sounds of it, you do have your multitasking skills down pat. I mean, you were able to do that while you were studying, and you're able to manage your time, set a schedule, and I guess setting a schedule basically is the secret in how to do both, right? If in case people out there are wondering, okay, which one should I do first? Go with the go with the schedule first. And also, as I mentioned in the beginning, we first met in MIBF last year, but it wasn't up until last year's PICOF, or Philippine International Comics Festival, that I was able to chat with you and get a copy of your work. The first one of which I have here is that Enchantment.
Oh my gosh!
Right. So this is a one shot or standalone work that I very much enjoyed. And I was wondering, could you tell us what inspired the story and how long did it take you to finish it?
Oh, for that one, oh wait. The story actually started because I was trying to do this. Like, are you familiar with Inktober?
Yes, Inktober. Yes.
So for Inktober, I had this idea long before where instead of like drawings, I will make like short comics for like for every day. And one of the wait, and I think one of I forgot the one of the prompts. There was like one prompt that sort of like brought this idea to
Mm-hmm.
the idea of enchantment. And then at that time there was this manga contest. Like there was like a Japanese manga contest wherein they're inviting like creators to like submit from all over the world. And then you know what I thought, and I didn't have any idea at the time, so I thought, you know
Mm-hmm.
what, I'll just like use this like short comic that I really like, the characters I really like, and then I developed it into a story. In terms of like the drawing process itself, it took me about a month to finish.
Okay.
That was just like that's all I did that month. It's just like drawing continuously. So I don't normally like finish like how many pages? Is it like almost six? Was it almost 60 pages? I think.
Is
That
it? Let us check. Where's the
I'm
page
not
number?
sure.
Well, I'll take your word for it. About 60, because
Right, or was it like 50? I'm not quite
or
sure.
within that range. Within that
Yeah,
range.
so
My
it's
my
like
my
within
uh,
that.
my coffee hasn't kicked in yet, so I'm slow with math this morning.
Yeah. So normally, like it would take me longer, but since the deadline was already, I think this was August, so and the
Okay.
deadline was in September, I think. So I was like, you know what, I have to finish this. So that's why I ended up finishing at that time. In terms of
Okay.
like story wise, though, I just honestly wanted to write like a fantasy. I was really wait. What was I inspired back then of the story? I
Well,
think I
for
was.
those who are not seeing it, on video and listening to us, just per audio, the cover enchantment is the cover of someone who looks like a witch, and obviously because of you know the association of the word enchantment, you know that there are spells and witchy stuff or witchy shenanigans happening in the story. But yeah, sorry, I had to just
No wonder. No
put
worries. No
that
worries.
in.
Yeah, no, it's okay because I finally remember. I was really inspired by Hunter.
Oh, okay, all right.
Like the world building for Hunter x Hunter. So I was
Uh,
thinking, oh, you know what? I kind of like want to apply that in my story. And I think it was kind of tricky at first because we have to like set up the rules and such for the world building. But I thought it would be really like fun if I imbued it with like a sort of modern concept of like, okay, Wi-Fi, but what if magic works like Wi-Fi?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Wherein it
mm-hmm.
doesn't like work everywhere, and it kind of like depends on the connection. So I
Right.
thought
Depends on
that
how
was like,
the range and how close you are to the
yeah,
source,
yeah.
to the modem, the magic
So I thought it would
modem.
be funny. That was like the basic concept around it. So I was watching Hunter x Hunter, and then I thought, oh, wouldn't it be funny if there was like magic work like Wi-Fi?
Nice, nice. So for those who have not read it, or I'm sure you wouldn't want them to spoil it, what exactly is Enchantment all about?
Um, Enchantment is like a fantasy romance story. It's like my gosh, wait, it's been a while since I like look back on Enchantment. Um, it's essentially a fantasy romance story centering around this like cadet called Andrea,
Hmm.
and she's trying to like find the serial robber in her town. So it's a in so that's essentially like the main gist of it. And then she gets sort of like get entangled with the shopkeeper who might or may not be involved in the serial robberies. Yes, that's essentially like the gist of it.
Yeah, exactly. Let me show people on the screen how of what the art is. There you go. Yeah. So you can see that it is very much manga inspired. With with how the reactions are, the eyes that would just turn into little slits if you're embarrassed or bug out from the sockets, or if you're or if you're surprised and all that. And that seems to be the trend these days in the comics that I'm reading. And because it's a one shot, obviously whatever that needs to be resolved is resolved. But just because it's a one shot doesn't mean that you can't continue the story in some form. So do you think you would be able to continue this in any form?
There is, oh my gosh, there is like a much longer story in mind for it.
Okay.
Like literally arcs. But the thing is, my general approach to like making comics so that it's, to make it like sort of sustainable is that I don't like starting on something I'm confident I wouldn't be able to finish.
All right. Okay.
So that's why I usually tend to like make one-off stories. So usually graphic novels or one shots. So at least when readers go to them, they can be like at least they would how would I say this? Like they wouldn't feel like they got a cliffhanger or something.
Mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm.
my biggest worry is that okay, I'll start on this longer story and then later I wouldn't have the time to finish it. So that's like no. Yeah, so yeah, for now, it will stay a one shot. But hopefully, once I do like get the time, I would be able to like work on that
Expand it.
long story because
Yeah.
there's like a lot. Like I should there's like a part of me thinking should I just like write it out so that people can read it, and then when I do have the time, I'll just I'll just draw everything out. So there's like a part of me that's wondering that, but
Mm-hmm.
for now, my focus is on making first my graphic novels.
I'm curious with regards to people who create comics. Obviously, there needs to be a storyboard,
Mhm.
and which one does go first for the storyboard? Does the sequencing of the plot needs to be there first before you create any drawings, or sometimes it's the drawing that dictates the flow of the plot? How does it work for you?
No. It's
Because
like
I'm more of a novel writer than a comic creator, and I'm not discounting that I may or may not uh, go down the line of the comics if prodded enough or if inspired enough to do that. So I consider it like my learning process when I get to talk to different creatives, especially if they do comics.
mhm. For my process, I'm a script first person.
Okay.
Yes. So actually, when I look back, at least when I like back on my previous work, so whether it's on being quiet or my next work, Gemma and the Giant Owl. For me, the longest part of the process is honestly the brainstorming and the writing phase for me,
Hmm.
because my idea is that wait, I have to like polish the idea and the script first, because once I get started on the drawing, there's like very little that I can change already. That's
Okay.
why in general I tend to like allot the most time to the brainstorming, the script writing part. So yeah, because for me the idea is that once I draw it, it's gonna be very difficult to change compared to like writing it out first. So yeah, that's where I
Okay.
do it. So mine is script first. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily do the descriptions already. It's like already in my head, sort of, so to speak.
Okay.
And then what I do is that on the script I print it out, and then that's where I do my thumbnails. I prefer to do my thumbnails on an actual paper rather
Mhm.
than because I draw digitally, so I prefer to do them on alongside the script so that I can also make changes in the script as needed while
Right,
writing.
right. Good, good. Yeah. You need to sort of like, get the foundation, ready yet first before you start doing trimmings and, and all other decorations around the house. Of course, foundation first. I agree. I agree. And I think you wrote it here that uh you wrote this during the time of the lockdown, is it? You started working on this? Yeah.
2020, yes.
Yeah, I agree that the lockdown certainly took its toll on everyone else, and yet somehow creatives like you were able to pull through. What kept you going creatively when everything was like up in the air?
Honestly, deadlines. My gosh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that should scare you.
deadlines.
That should
No,
scare
because
anybody.
there's like no bigger like motivation than a deadline. It's like
Hmm.
because for example, right, the deadline for that Japanese manga contest was like I think end of August, or was it like the first week of September? So my idea, and then I learned about it like a couple of months before, but I only started drawing like the month before.
Okay.
So I mean, I feel like I could have like started it earlier, but I didn't have like the motivation yet. So as the deadline was nearing, I thought, you know what, let's just do this. Let's just finish it, and then yeah, I was
That's
able
the
to
best.
finish.
That's the best motivation. Yeah.
Yeah, best motivation deadline. And if it's not a contest, then it's an event. So it's when it's
Yeah.
like Comic Con, you want to release something new, or Comic Con, right? Or MIBF. There's no there's no better like source of motivation if you want to like the drive to finish something's like deadlines. So
I
it's
guess
really
that beats coffee in the list for sure. Deadlines before coffee. Oh boy. I hope that whoever hears this wouldn't think of, them as failing if in case on their creative streak, if at that time during the lockdown you were not able to do anything. But, really it is in the quieter moments that you really get acquainted with who we are, and then we get to test our, our metal as it is. And speaking of quiet, you do have another work that's called On Being Quiet. I can
yeah.
see that in the background, and I also have it here with me. I'm holding it up for everyone to see. You know what? I must say that the art is beautiful.
Thank
So is
you.
the paper, the
Yeah.
printing.
Yeah.
It was just, it was just really top notch, and the calmness of the colors that you used. Obviously, it drew me in, and I won't be surprised how easily it draws other people in whenever they pass by your booth. And was this the, let's say, original version of the comic, perhaps, or did it evolve as you were finishing it?
No, it was the original
That's
version.
the original version. Okay, I love it that there's
Because
also a photo in the comic. So
making
yeah.
like On Being Quiet was like, how do you say it? It was like a very like, for example, kind of like imagine yourself in a marathon, and
Mm-hmm.
then On Being Quiet was like made in like the last dash towards the finish line.
Okay.
Because I made On Being Quiet like a week before pickoff.
Mm.
So again, motivation is the deadline.
Again, yes,
Uh,
motivation day. Let me show you a little bit of the artwork, the color, the detail. Oh God, this is beautiful. Really, it is. It is beautiful. And if no one has told you about how beautiful it is, you need to get a copy for yourself so that you'll know how beautiful this is. Okay. I feel that you've hit the nail on the head with this comic in particular because, as creatives, we feel that we always have to learn how to tune out our voices of doubt, that we would occasionally and sometimes even hear it only ourselves. And the comic does address that and other issues. And I was wondering what perhaps could be the inspiration for the comic, or if not even trigger, if I may be assumptive to say, when this comic came about.
for On Being Quiet, it was just more of like a based on a person on my personal experiences as a
Hmm.
creative, and then also kind of like getting to like, how do you say this? Like getting, what's the right phrase for it? It's like coming to terms there, coming to
Mhm.
terms with the experience, sort of like processing it. And for me, it was really more of an exploration, more of like a self reflection on like what
Mhm.
quiet means for me.
Mhm.
Because I mean, if it's not obvious enough, I'm an introvert. I'm I'm not I'm not like very used to like confrontations and such. And I've always felt that the quiet, like just being alone,
Mhm.
just not making too much noise and such. Even like online, I'm not online that much. Like the quiet has always been sort of like a safe space for me.
Okay.
But and then comes that sort of like realization that, oh wait, the quiet is a safe space for me, but it's not always gonna be like that. So, and that despite everything, that there is sometimes a need to like speak up for yourself, be your best advocate, so that not only just like sort of like stand up for yourself, but also just to like speak up so that also the
Mhm.
truth comes out and all of those things. So yeah, so for me, it was like a very like personal, one of my most personal works to do this on.
Yeah, yeah, I do get that. Also from not just from reading it, but also at the end of the comic, there's a hashtag there that says "still processing." So I was wondering, do you feel that you've processed what it is that you need to process, or is that still ongoing for you?
For me, I'm already coming to terms with it. I
Okay,
feel like if it was like a marathon, I'm at the last leg of the race already. It feels
all
like
right. So
so.
it's finishing energy. Yeah,
Yes,
kind of finishing energy. All right.
I think
Okay.
the comic really helped with sort of like the processing phase, because I think it's a good thing to sort of like put it down in something physical, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you're like keeping it to yourself and it's just like it kind of like feels like a rumble of things, because the thoughts are like bouncing off of each other all the time, right? And putting it down on like a piece of paper, piece of work, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like help organize those thoughts. It's something in a way that not only helps other people understand it, but also helps yourself understand it.
I
Yeah.
agree. I
Right.
agree. And I think part of the process of creating is also, trying to decide which ones to put and which ones to shelve for later. So I was wondering, how do you handle the influx of ideas like that whenever they come in? It's like opening your door and you have 20 guests coming in. And how do you decide, okay, you come in first, you next, you others stay out and wait your turn?
For me, I think it's like mainly two things. One is how developed is the story yet. So again,
Okay.
as I mentioned previously, is that for me the brainstorming takes the longest time when it
Mhm.
comes to like creating a work. So wait, my idea is that, wait, is the story developed already? If the story is developed, then I can just draw with no problem. And then the second one is the length. It's like, wait, how
Mhm.
long will this take me to draw? So that's another one of my considerations.
Okay.
So yeah, so while I do have like a lot of like ideas lined up, again, and then of course the deadline, obviously, like
Yep, yep.
one
We
with an
go back
earlier
to that.
deadline will be like prioritized. So that's kind of like how it goes for me.
Yes,
So yeah.
creatives, deadline is key.
Yes.
Always remember that.
Mhm.
All right. And we did talk about it earlier on with regards to, recharging yourself when the well is dry and you can't create. So if you were, let's say, if you were to choose between a medium that's easily accessible, take comics out of the equation. Would you go more for music or for movies?
Oh, good idea. So that's a good question. For me, I really like watching like I mean currently, because before it was more of like a Studio Ghibli movies. I
Mhm.
really like watching them. But for now, I find myself being drawn more to like longer works, so more of like series.
Okay.
So something that kind of like something that's sort of like gets you a bit more involved in the story moving forward. So because I think that you'll have like more time to explore the world, more time to like develop the characters. So that's something I kind of like look forward to. Yeah, so yeah,
Right.
currently more of like for a series.
Yeah, more backstory and more info dump because we
Yeah,
love
yeah,
info dump as a creative.
yeah.
Um, Usually when we hear people comment on what we do as being hard or difficult, sometimes we sort of like catch ourselves asking the very same question. But when it comes to the arts, this is the first impression that people give or get. I mean, oh, I'm going to write a book. Oh, that's so hard. I'm going to write a comic. Oh, I can't draw. It's so difficult because I don't have a team to help me.
Yeah.
Ever wonder why is that? I mean, is it because I don't know, we pitched to the wrong people, or it's only just again a matter of mind setting?
Wait, to clarify, the question is about why people sort of like feel
why,
like
why
a
why I feel that
hesitancy
when
by
you
it.
go into the arts, it's a difficult thing. I mean, why do people center around the difficult part, and why can't people sort of like reframe it in such a way that it's not difficult, it's rewarding, it's fulfilling, it's gangbusters when at the end of the day you have a work to show for, and slap people with it, those naysayers, and say that you can't do it.
Hmm. That's like a good question. Like, sorry, from what I understand in the question, it's more of like why people sort of like feel hesitant to try arts or.
Could be, yeah, could be. Why do you think arts has always been a source of the people center more on the negative part of the arts, that it's difficult rather than fulfilling? Is it because I don't know, we ourselves as creative, we keep telling people, I'm running out of ideas. Oh, the drawing doesn't work, or my artist does not understand my vision.
Mhm. I can like look at it because from like two perspectives. So one is more of the economical side, and then
Hmm.
the other is more on like the more personal creative side. So on the economical side, I guess it's just this idea of for one, you're not sure how stable you would be, like pursuing,
Hmm.
for example, a career in comics or any other art form, right? So there are especially in the Philippines. And unfortunately, it is a fact that it's not something that people tend to have in like very high regard here.
Yeah,
Sadly, right? So it's like,
sadly.
oh wait, what? You're making comics? Like, what for? Is that a stable career? Right? It's like
There you
something
go.
commonly heard of. Although thankfully my at least my sisters are like supportive. And then the other one is on the more personal side. There's this idea of wait, if I'm gonna go into this one, it has to be like we have like when, for example, we see so many other creators around us, and they make like awesome work, and then there's this like fear that once you enter that space, it won't your work won't be as awesome as theirs. So there's this like pressure that oh
Okay.
wait, my work has to be that good as well, or else it won't count. But the thing is, it's still your work, so it always counts. As long as you put your heart into it, as long as you show it. And I guess there is that degree of making artwork, and it does, and it's especially if it's like a personal work or a personal story.
Hmm.
There is like a sort of like vulnerability there, wherein you're showing a part of yourself to others, and it's gonna hurt if like they don't respond in the way that you're hoping that they would respond to. Like, so there is like that side to like creating art that requires courage.
Yeah,
And if there's like any creator out there who's like feeling a bit hesitant about it, I say just dive in. Just be
just dive
brave.
in.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, it's not something you would get. There are people who get it on the first try, right? Let's not discount them. It does happen. But for like most folks, it's really just more of a learning process,
Hmm.
and learning what you actually like, the stories you want to tell. So yeah,
I
hopefully.
love that I love that you mentioned courage, because in my past interviews I did ask about the correlation between creativity and courage, and yes, you do have to be courageous enough to put your views out there onto your work for people to read, for people to see. You have to be courageous, and maybe letting people in on a little bit of your own viewpoints, and that will make you as a creative, or maybe even as a person, vulnerable, especially when people pick up on it reading between the lines. And all of that just says that it's perfectly summed up by this I'm trying to paraphrase this creative. Everyone knows him by name, not just for for the current issues that he's facing. But as a creative, Neil Gaiman did say that if you feel that you are putting yourself too much on the line, and that you're making yourself a little bit vulnerable with each work that you're putting out, then that means you're doing the right thing. Because with you being vulnerable, that also touches upon, and this was me sort of like expounding on it. If you make your work as vulnerable to you, or as emotionally resonant to you as a creator, then that resonance will be transferred onto the reader, and they will have some resonance with your work. And that's how you keep the reader and your fans with you for the duration of your series or the duration of your career, because we can be equally vulnerable within that space of your work, and no one will be shamed for being vulnerable. Yeah. And and if you're able to achieve that in just a few outings of your work, then it's great that you've discovered that formula. And if you have not, then that's okay. Keep on going, because you never know where that formula is gonna kick in and just automatically spruce up and sprout like mushrooms, and you'll never get enough of it. We're nearing the end of the talk, but I'd like to throw you some more questions before we wrap things up. I was wondering, what's the biggest lesson, or probably the wake up call that you've learned in being a creative that has sort of like become a life lesson to you, and one that you would gladly impart on other aspiring creatives?
Oh, it made me think. Wait, oh, shucks, wait, that's like, there's like, when you said it, there's like a lot of things flash in my mind, and I'm trying to like pick, okay, what's the best one to like share?
All right, brainstorm, brainstorm.
So, lesson as a creative. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. So,
Or maybe something that you're still learning and you're applying and testing as well. That can also be something. Yeah. Maybe a process thing that you felt that I tried it and it worked, and you may want to try it out because it might work for you.
I think that's like, I mean, it's my general approach to things is that if there's like one thing that you want to try, like just try. Yeah.
Okay,
For
just try.
me,
That's it.
because for like a bit of context, I do like struggle with call this one. It's like I'm not like properly diagnosed or anything. It's more of like executive dysfunction.
Okay.
Wherein when I'm starting like a new project, I do feel like there's a lot of resistance to it.
Uh-huh.
So because you feel like the project is so big and it's so large that you kind of, I mean, at least for me, I kind of like feel paralyzed to like to like actually start working on it. So for me it's easier to like, oh, okay, from like one project just helping me to do another project rather than taking a pause in between, because it becomes harder for me to like start
Mm,
over again. And for
okay.
me, for people who are like sort of like struggling sort of get started on like, if there's like a specific of like, if there's like a comic you're thinking, like a novel you're thinking, honestly just go for it. Right? And if you're like worried that it wouldn't pan out well, the important thing is that you tried. And it's easier
Yeah.
to like, and at least you would have a definite answer to your question. Rather than thinking, oh, it might not end up this way. Oh, it might not end. No, just do it first and then
Yeah.
learn and then just try better next time.
And refine, I guess, as you go along, because you got to remember, or every creative needs to remember, that your first draft is not your final draft. Never is. Never is. Not even the best. Not even J.K. Rowling, for sure. I'm sure she had to rework her own stuff, numerous times in order to give us the final product that we
There
all
were like
enjoy.
numerous times while making the comics, I was like adjusting text and dialogues along the way because sometimes, a work is not finished until it's actually finished, or
Mhm.
until you're like until you take a step back from it, because sometimes even
Yeah.
when it's like already printed you kind of like notice things and then you kind of change it in the next editions. So
Yes.
there's it's definitely a continuous process, so like
Yes.
don't be afraid,
Exactly.
just
I
go for it.
agree. Hashtag work in progress and hashtag yes, still processing. What are you currently working on, if I may ask? Any previews that you can
Oh,
share?
yeah, there is, oh well, there's a lot.
Or what's the nearest one that you can
It's a bit
reach and
overwhelming.
show on the screen?
Oh wait. Currently, I'm working on a submission for. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the delay anthology. It's
Okay.
going to be published by Difference Engine, which is a publisher based in Singapore. So I'm currently working on
Nice.
submission for that one.
Uh-huh.
Like, wait, let me see if I can like show a page. Mhm. Because I do draw on iPad. And then the other one is as you can see here, this one. So this
Yes.
is not is another graphic novel that I'm working on for Pickoff. Um, I highly doubt that I'll be able to finish it this year because my goal for it is to be a full color graphic novel,
Okay.
and it will probably be around 200 pages. So I'm not sure I can finish it because
Mm,
I'm still in the
okay.
phase, so that might be a bit difficult to work on. And then the
I've,
other one, well, sorry, there's like three. And then the
cool.
other one is another graphic novel, which I'm working on with a writer friend of mine. So she also writes for children's lit. So that's another graphic novel that we're hoping to also finish within the next years or so. So yeah, there's like a lot going.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
And of course, along with what you're creating, you also have to take time to recharge yourself and read stuff. So, is there anything that you're currently reading that is currently giving you
Oh, wait,
joy?
sorry. Just wanted to share. So this is like one of the pages. Oh, so can it be seen? This is like one of the pages
Okay,
for the delay anthology. I'm not sure if it can be seen, but that's it.
that's okay. That's all right.
Um,
For
for
yeah.
recharging, hmm, is there like a the recharge thing? I love going through YouTube. I love watching YouTube videos. So there's like two things I usually tend to go to if I just like want to like quote unquote recharge. It's either Netflix or YouTube. For YouTube, I
Okay.
just like listening to it can be anything. It can be like commentary channels or just about a documentary, or it can
Mhm.
just be like people true crime podcasts. I usually like
Okay. True crime podcast.
there's
Nice.
that.
Nice.
And then for Netflix, it's usually just like, a bunch of like series. There are a couple of ones that I really like. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Chaos,
I,
Kaos.
I saw that. I've been meaning to watch it, but I'm sort of like lagging behind with my all other stuff that I need to watch on a different platform. So I know it's good. I watch it. Okay, watch it. I will. I will. It's actually there. I already ticked it, and it's part of my to watch
It's
box.
yeah. So
So
just to like give you a heads up, it didn't renew for season two. But the thing is though, I think it's so good that it's
maybe not
fine.
yet. Maybe not yet, or
Yes,
they're
I'm still hopeful that they'll renew it for a season two. But
okay.
even if it doesn't, I think season one is so good. Yeah, so
All right.
yeah,
I
yeah.
will check. I
Very
will check that out. Thank you for the recommendation. For those who want to follow you on social media, or if not prior to that, for those who want to get a copy of this, but they're not able to go to the cons, schedule conflicts or whatever, where can they get it?
it's fine. You can just like message me directly on my Instagram. So my Instagram is just Hansel Art. So
Hmm.
you can just like send me a message there. I try to go online when when I can. But yeah, just send the message there. And I
Okay.
usually check I try to check the like any message requests that I do receive.
Right. Awesome. Since we're recording this at the beginning of March, you will be part of the Summer Comic Con, right?
Yeah.
At the Bayanihan Center,
Yes.
and it's on the 15th of March.
Yes. So it's on a
Yeah,
Saturday.
yeah, it's on a Saturday, and it's also on the same day as or the same weekend for Philippine Book Festival. So I'm not sure if I can go, but
Don't worry.
yeah, all of us, followers and lovers of your work will be there with you in presence and in spirit. For those who are going to be able to go, I wish you a lot of sales on that day,
Yeah.
and more people should really go check your art because it
Thank
is
you. Thank
it
you.
is awesome. All right. That's a wrap for today. Thank you so much, Hansel, for joining us on this episode. We wish you all the best in your creative and artistic endeavors. Now, if in case everyone out there who's listening, you are a creative and you're based here in Manila and you're a Filipino, or even if you're based abroad and you want to be featured on the podcast, hey, feel free and email us at urbanfantasyph@gmail.com. And if you wish to get copies of all of the Dark District books and my recent poetry book release, just visit Spine Books on Lazada as well as on Shopee. So follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, and me over at cjedmunds.com. Thank you again for joining us today. Till the next episode in the Authors Unite, and keep creating, and we will keep reading. Remember, deadlines help. Deadlines motivate, and deadlines work. Okay? Stay safe and stay creative. Namaste, and blessed be. Thank you.
That was another episode of Urban Fantasy PH. Join us next time as we feature another creative soul who wants their art to be seen, heard, and shared. If you have your own work to share, just email us at urbanfantasyph@gmail.com. Till the next episode, this is independent author, singer-songwriter, radio personality, voice actor, and fellow creative, CJ Edmunds, reminding you to always listen to your heart, create with your mind, and share with your soul. Goodbye, everybody. Namaste. Blessed be.